Hi guys, how's it going? So, this is going to be my second video for today, and I was just kind of wanted to talk about some of the current events surrounding Trump and North Korea. I don't really know totally what's going to come out of this meeting. I don't think any news has come out yet. I don't even think the meeting's happened yet. But I have been thinking about this a lot, and there's really not a lot of ANCAPs. I haven't seen any ANCAPs that frequently cover current events. Maybe occasionally, but I haven't seen that many that cover them that often, and I kind of wanted to give an anarcho-capitalist perspective on current events as well, because I think that there's a need for that, and I love philosophy, and I love talking about, economics and hypothetical situations and stuff like that. And that's really important, and that's the basis to a lot of what us as ANCAPs think about and do and all of that. But there's so many channels that do that I don't really want to just make copies of videos that already exist on lots of other channels, right? I kind of want to do something to differentiate and kind of provide a market for that stuff. So I want to just go over some of the current events with North Korea, and with that exposition out of the way, we'll get into it. Obviously, kind of like I said in my first video, I am definitely anti-interventionist, for sure. I'm definitely not an interventionist. I don't believe in the validity of aggressive war. If you have to defend yourself from an invading force, of course that's justified, but I don't believe in the validity of governments carrying out war, because I don't even believe in the validity of government. So, that kind of gets to my foreign policy standpoint. But unfortunately, we live in a state of society right now, and we do have to think about the consequences of actions that our quote-unquote leaders take, even though they're not really leading us to anywhere. But we do have to live with these things, and we do have to think about it, whether we'd like to or not. Of course, we can take measures to try to slowly get closer to a free society like we want, but until then, we've got to think about what's going on in the world. I think there's potential that the Trump-North Korea talks could go well. And go well, the definition of go well is something that everybody has different ideas about. You hear a lot of people, and Trump himself, talking about pushing for total denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, and I don't think that's going to happen. And I'll tell you why I don't think that's going to happen. Kim Jong-un is fully aware of the fact that other dictators, like Gaddafi and all these guys who agree to the terms that the U.S. gives them, oftentimes get assassinated. It's happened in the Middle East a few times. It's happened in Latin America. We've performed a lot of assassinations. So Kim Jong-un figures, because when you think about it, the nuclear capacity is the only thing that prevents North Korea from being invaded by the South. The South Korea has a much higher military ability than the North Koreans. Conventional military. But North Korea has nuclear weapons. And the threat of nuclear weapons is what prevents Kim Jong-un from being taken out. And so Kim Jong-un is not just going to give up the nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons are a part of the North Korean constitution, which I know that constitutions don't mean much, and I can get into and explain that. But under a dictatorship, Kim Jong-un is going to be more likely to enforce that. And I'm really skeptical that he's going to give up his whole nuclear arsenal. He might give up some of it, but he's not going to give up all of it. And this is not the first time. Let's just have a hypothetical and say that Kim Jong-un does decide to dismantle his nuclear arsenal and have international inspectors or U.S. inspectors or whatever living in North Korea and making sure it's happening. It's already happened before in the past where they were quote-unquote dismantling their nuclear arsenal, and look how well that went. So I don't think that he's going to give up the nukes. But one thing I could see happening, and it would be a positive change in the right direction, it wouldn't be statelessness, but it would be a positive change in the right direction, would be some of the opening up of North Korean society. I think that that's actually really possible, and I think it's really possible because Kim is being put on so much pressure that I think he figures that opening up North Korea society somewhat is the only way that he's going to remain in power, because that's what any government leader really cares about, is remaining in power. So I think what we very well could see, because North Korea has wanted a lot of the pressure taken off of its border, and it's wanted a formal end to the Korean War and all this kind of stuff. I think I could foresee a deal that may happen in this meeting, or it may happen over a number of meetings, where North Korea dismantles part of its nuclear arsenal, has international people kind of spying on them, making sure they're not acting up, which who knows how well that'll go, but have people stationed there. And in exchange, they get a formal end to the Korean War, and pressure taken off their border, trade agreements, which they desperately need for financial purposes, if they want to expand, all that kind of stuff. And also, part of the thing that we might get out of it is, humanitarian speaking, the opening up of North Korean society somewhat. It would still be a horrible, oppressive regime. It would probably be like China, where China is terrible and oppressive, but at least, like, you can have more than 15 haircuts, It would be something like that, where North Korean society is more kind of like a China or a Russia, or something like, not a Russia, but more like a China kind of society. In exchange for Kim Jong-un retaining his power, I could totally see that happening. And while it would not be near enough to liberate those poor people, it would certainly be a step in the right direction. The only downside to it would honestly be the fact that that Kim Jong-un would be able to start taxing the free market. If there's a great book called Every Falling Star, by Sung-Ju Lee, who I'd almost call it an autobiographical novel. It's written in the form of a novel, but it's an autobiography, and it's about basically his experience in North Korea, and he eventually escaped to the South, thank God, but it's about his experience in North Korea. And there is a black market, there is free market trade, but of course a lot of the guards and stuff require bribes in order for them to not go report it and all this kind of stuff. But it's very widely known, and I think Kim Jong-un doesn't want to give up the ability to tax what is now a black market. That's the only downside to it. But I mean, the people are having to pay bribes anyway, so I guess that's just statism for you. But I think all in all, I think that there could be some positivity coming from this. I think Kim Jong-un wants to image, but I wouldn't be so optimistic as to think that Kim Jong-un is going to dismantle his nuclear arsenal. If he agrees to do that, I will be far more skeptical than if he doesn't. Because if he agrees, he's not going to do it. Because he figures, and it may very well be in the cards, the U.S. might be thinking, hey, we'll get him to get rid of his nukes and we'll take him out. I wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. government is thinking about doing that. So it's really kind of a consequence of history and what we've done in the recent past in the Middle East has actually really stifled our ability to communicate. I really shouldn't say our, because the government doesn't represent us. And actually, I'm going to make this a double part video. Why not? I'm going to talk about that. I think I've kind of gotten that issue out of the way as far as my opinions on it. I want to talk about the forced self-identification with the state, because I'm even catching myself right now as I've been an ANCAP for quite a while, and I've been formulating these ideas, and even I am still saying R in reference to U.S. government policy. And just the indoctrination, the forced identity where you are forced to identify with your flag and with your nation and with your state. To the point where even I, as an AMCAP, am using terms like we and our is just an example of the how deeply ingrained statism is in the minds of people. Really, the people in North Korea and in this country and everywhere would be better off in free societies that were all voluntary transactions and, anarcho-capitalism. That would really, that would be the greatest thing, if Trump and North Korea would just agree to become ANCAP societies, right? But obviously that's not going to happen. We can't just snap our fingers and make that happen. But, yeah, all in all, I don't know. I guess I'm really not going to make it a full 2-part video. I just wanted to mention the fact how ingrained, like that's just an example, how ingrained it is into society that I, as an ANCAP, am using plural pronouns to lump myself in with a state that I don't identify with. So, but anyways, I think that's going to be all for this video. This is just kind of a quick one. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm making like breathing noises into the mic. I don't have a good mic right now. I'm recording this on my phone.